Since the beginning of basketball, there's always been one looming question: who is the GOAT? And there's about a group of 6 guys that you can make a very solid case for. There's thousands of different variables, different angles, and different statistics you can throw out and acknowledge. And this is every NBA's fan favorite topic to talk about. And what I've realized is that people are really bad at it. And for the purposes of this video, we are only going to strictly look at the GOAT debate between Michael Jordan and LeBron James. So here are a few arguments that I have big issues with. Number 1, this goes for Jordan and LeBron supporters. When people say 6-0, and on the flip side, people say 10 finals appearances. This is super obvious and super self-explanatory to me. It's as simple as Jordan's toughest competition was in the East with the legendary Celtics team, the bad boy Pistons, the Knicks, and the Pacers. And when his Bulls made the finals, they were favored all 6 times. I mean, you could argue the 91 Lakers were close to being favored, but let's just call that even. And then LeBron's toughest competition was in the West. So getting through the East was easier, but LeBron was never favored against the Warriors in the majority of his finals. So of course LeBron made it to more finals and lost some, but of course Michael made it to fewer finals and he did better when he made it. If the roles were reversed, I believe they would have the same exact records. And to clarify, I think Jordan would be 4-6 because he would beat the Mavs in 2011, but I don't think he could pull his team together to come back in 2016. I know that's skeptical, but that's just what I believe. Also, while we're on it, stop acting like 2011 didn't happen. It did. LeBron fans embrace it. You lose credibility in your argument when you don't agree to objective things just because it doesn't support your argument, so just stop. The best analogy I've heard compares rings to a speeding ticket. So it goes like this: if you have 2 people, one person has a speeding ticket, and so we know for a fact that they speed, right? This other person doesn't have a speeding ticket. Does that mean they don't speed? Well, we don't know. There's way too many variables to count for. Were they speeding? How much were they speeding by? Was there a cop out where they happened to be driving? Did the cop choose to pull them over? If they got pulled over, did he give them a ticket? There's so many variables that go into it, and this is just like championship rings. I mean, if you have one, and people like Jordan and LeBron, you were the best player on a championship level team. But just because they don't have a ring or don't have the speeding ticket, there's so many factors and variables that go into it, because LeBron has been the best player on a championship team and lost. We saw this with the Warriors. He was the best player on the court. So having the ring is really, I mean, we have to look at it. When we look at the GOAT debate, rings are important, but they're not everything. So if you just say 6-0, stop. Very quickly, if you enjoy daily NBA content, make sure to subscribe. We're trying to reach 500 subscribers by the end of the month. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Back to it. Number 2. Jordan or LeBron couldn't play in each other's eras. If you've ever had these words come out of your mouth, just stop it. Let's talk about LeBron first. What I hear Jordan fans say is LeBron is too soft for 90s basketball. And then when they say this, I start chuckling, but just to realize they're not joking. An average center in the NBA in the 90s was around 6'11", 250 pounds. LeBron is a million times more athletic than 90s centers, and he's 6'9", 250, and in his time in Miami, he weighed a career-high 280 pounds. This is a freight train coming down the lane, and if you see LeBron finish with people trying to tie him up, if he's getting dirty fouled, I mean, dirty fouls are dirty fouls, but nobody dares to put those on LeBron because he'll go right through it and he'll make you pay. And this is exactly why Jordan hit the gym and got so much bigger when he was playing the bad boy Pistons, so they couldn't push him around anymore. Great NBA players adapted their situation. This leads me to my next point. It's equally as comical to say that Jordan couldn't play in today's era. Of course the game is so much different, but we all pretend that Jordan wouldn't change his game based on the times. He was a bad 3-point shooter. Well, they didn't shoot many threes in his era, and they barely invented the 3-point line when he was in college. If Jordan grew up in today's NBA, he'd be shooting way more threes, he'd be traveling with AAU teams from a very young age, and would play at a much higher pace. To give an example, in 1985, Joe Montana led the league in completion percentage with 61.3%. That would be 33rd in today's NFL. Does that mean Joe Montana's a bad quarterback? Of course not, but the game has changed so much, and so would Joe Montana. So overall, this goes to LeBron and Jordan fans. Stop saying they couldn't play in each other's era. The third one is specifically for Jordan supporters, having weird standards. We have to look at this. LeBron didn't take 2 seasons off, and he didn't retire early. Stop holding this against LeBron. It's just illogical. This one just blows my mind, and I know it's highly debatable, but to me it's not. But Jordan missed 2 years of his prime. But Jordan retired early. But but nothing. Why is this a negative on LeBron? It's unfair to set these standards, and you can only look at this many years of LeBron's career. And actually, don't look at the last 2 of Jordan's. The years with the Wizards don't count. That's setting the standard to solely benefit your argument, and we need to be more objective than that. LeBron has been greater for more years, and this needs to go in the plus category for LeBron. Stop trying to change the narrative so it's not. So if you ever say this, you need to stop. The fourth one, this one's kind of weird. I've heard LeBron say this, saying Jordan was a bad teammate and didn't help out the community that like LeBron has. I've heard this one before, and people really hang their hats on this one. Although there is some truth to it, we just have to simply discount this because we're looking at things off the court. If it isn't a statistic, a highlight, or an intangible skill on the court, it doesn't belong in the discussion. Number 5 is also debatable, but when I talk about this with people, and I'm really not trying to give my side, but I'm just trying to, help people's arguments out. And where I run loops with people is when we talk about defense. And to me, defense is just a wash. People need to understand that making an all-NBA defensive team doesn't mean you are a top 5 defender in the league. It goes by position. And the top defenders in the NBA and the league now and in the NBA past are mainly forwards and centers. So that today's all-NBA team with people think how it goes would go something like this. Rudy Gobert, Giannis, AD, Kawhi, maybe Bam. And it would be a while till we got to a guard. So Jordan's accomplishments are awesome, but he's one of the best defending guards in the history of the NBA. But LeBron is just as capable of a defender and can guard 1 through 5. And his Defensive Player of the Year was robbed from him. I mean, how can you win Defensive Player of the Year and not be all NBA first team? You can argue this one a million different ways, but in my experience, it gets nowhere. So we can write it off as a wash. I can think we can move forward to more productive things because there's a lot of situations you can go into, and it's, oh, but what if the person taking the last shot was a guard? Jordan's better at stealing. LeBron is better at blocks. I mean, you could really go back and forth all day. I've been there. If you pick a random person 1 through 5, if it's a center, LeBron's gonna be a better defender. If it's a point guard, Jordan's gonna be better. They're both very good at defense, very highly capable, and they both have very high defensive IQ. So I think this is a wash personally. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is so much fun. Hopefully I improved your guys' arguments a little bit. I tried to not be biased. I hope you don't know who my thing is, but I just want to make your guys' arguments better. I actually have a lot more written down on this, but this video was getting kind of lengthy, so I want to kind of chop it up. Let me know if you guys want to see more on this or bring in some other players into the discussion, because I've heard a lot of people trying to argue Wilt, Kareem, and even in those discussions, I see a lot of flaws. So drop down in the comments below what you think. If you think an argument that I said is flawed actually is objectively true, let me know. And I'll see you guys all tomorrow. We post every day. Come back. See ya. Peace. Woo!